Good Friday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversations Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Well, we made it to the end of another week, but of course you have your news headlines coming up on this Friday with a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you've been part of my conversation with Design Expert Bobby Berk. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Friday headlines. In national news, Capitol riot hearings open, focus on extremists and Trump. With never-before-seen video, new audio, and a massive evidence, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol attempted to show the harrowing story of the deadly violence that erupted that day, and also a chilling backstory as the defeated President Donald Trump tried to overturn Joe Biden's election victory. Thursday's primetime hearing opened with eyewitness testimony from the first police officer pummeled in the mob riot and from a documentary filmmaker tracking the extremist Proud Boys who prepared to fight for Trump immediately after the election and led the storming of the Capitol. It also featured the committee's accounts from Trump's aides and family members interviewed behind closed doors of the deadly siege that Democrats and others say put U.S. democracy at risk. When you hear and understand the wide-reaching conspiracy and the effort to try to corrupt every lever and agency of government involved in this, the hair on the back of your neck should stand up, said one representative that is a member of the January 6th committee in an interview. The January 6th panel's year-long investigation began to show how Americans' tradition of a peaceful transfer of presidential power came close to slipping away. It also constructed how Trump refused to concede the 2020 election, spread false claims of voter fraud, and orchestrated an unprecedented public and private campaign to overturn Biden's victory. Biden in Los Angeles for the Summit of the Americas said many viewers are going to be seeing for the first time a lot of the detail that occurred. I think it was a clear, flagrant violation of the Constitution, he said. Trump, unapologetic, dismissed the investigation anew and even declared on social media that January 6th represented the greatest movement in the history of our country. The result of the coming weeks of public hearings may not change hearts or minds in politically polarized America, but the committee's investigation, with 1,000 interviews, is intended to stand as a public record for history. A final report aims to provide an accounting of the most violent attack on the Capitol since the British set fire to it in 1814 and to ensure such an attack never happens again. The riot left more than 100 police officers injured, many beaten and bloodied, as a crowd of pro-Trump rioters, some armed with pipes, bats, and bear spray, charged into the Capitol. At least 9 people who were there died during and after the rioting, including a woman who was shot and killed by police. Emotions are still raw at the Capitol, and security has been tight for the hearings. Law enforcement officials are reporting a spike in violent threats against members of Congress. Against this backdrop, the committee speaks to a divided America ahead of the fall midterm elections when voters decide which party controls Congress. Most TV networks carried the hearings live. In more national news, authorities say 3 dead, trooper wounded in Maryland shooting. A man opened fire at a business in western Maryland on Thursday, killing 3 people before the suspect and a state trooper were wounded in a shootout, authorities say. The Washington County Sheriff's Office said in a news release the 3 victims were found dead at Columbia Machine Incorporated in Smithburg, and a 4th victim was critically injured. The suspect then fled in a vehicle and was tracked down by Maryland State Police, according to the news release. The suspect and a trooper were wounded in an exchange of gunfire, the Sheriff's Office said. Both were being treated for their wounds. Authorities did not have information on whether the suspect and victims were employees of the company where the shooting took place. News photographs showed a large law enforcement presence, including emergency vehicles at the scene. In more national news, Simone Biles and other women seek $1 billion plus from FBI over Nassar. Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles and dozens of other women who say they were sexually assaulted by Larry Nassar are seeking more than $1 billion from the FBI for failing to stop the sports doctor when the agency first received allegations against him, lawyers said this week. There's no dispute that FBI agents in 2015 knew that Nassar was accused of assaulting gymnasts, but they failed to act, leaving him free to continue to target young women and girls for more than a year. In more national news, few laughs, tough questions as Biden chats with Kimmel. There weren't a lot of laughs when President Joe Biden got some unsolicited advice from Jimmy Kimmel when the president sat down for his first in-person interview with late-night host since taking office. The host of ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live expressed frustration this week about the intractable problems in Washington, and he advised the president, I think you need to start yelling at people. Biden demurred, saying the country is still suffering from the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, but he insisted he's never been more optimistic in my life. And finally, in business news, stocks tumble as rate pressures grow, inflation report looms. Stocks on Wall Street tumbled Thursday, following the latest reminder that central banks now care more about fighting inflation than propping up the markets. The S&P 500 sank 2.4%, putting it on track for its ninth losing week in the last 10. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for a message from Words That Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Friday, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Words That Choose to Live By from my book, Words That Choose to Live By, page 3. You are human, so everything is not going to go according to plan. When it comes to a decision you make, own it, embrace it, and do not blame others when it does not go your way. Learn from it and move forward, knowing that is the only way you can actually grow and better yourself. Have an amazing Friday. Design Expert Bobby Berk is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight. We're here on Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Design Expert Bobby Berk joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to share with you guys some great ideas for entertaining around your home. Here's a bit of our conversation. Let's begin by talking about trends. What are some of the top trends you are seeing when it comes to backyard decor this year?
You know, one of the favorite things that I love doing, and I'm starting to see even more now that we're all able to go out and have friends over, is kind of bringing your indoors out, you know, not being afraid to bring things like outdoor pillows and fabric napkins and non-disposable plates. You know, it's much more environmentally friendly as well. What I usually do is I find a great color palette that I already have going on in my house, and I create that in my outdoor pillows and napkins, and that way it kind of makes an extension of your indoors outdoors and makes your spaces feel even bigger and more expansive. And you can create those really great moments by mixing up different patterns on your pillows. You know, I like keeping in the same color scheme but using different patterns. So I usually head over to Shutterfly because they have thousands of different patterns from tons of independent artists, and you can put those on pillows and your melamine plates and paper napkins, and it really makes a great cohesive feel that you can also reuse for every party and you don't have to throw them away.
Well, that is a great tip, and it's great to see how Shutterfly is able to help with that. So, Bob, I want to ask you, when it comes to sharing tips for hosting the perfect outdoor get-together this year, what are some of the tips you have for our audience, especially for those that may be new to hosting get-togethers?
You know what? I always say lighting is one of the most important things. You can make any space look really chic with the right lighting. I've made dingy balconies in New York or ratty backyards where I've lived before look super cool at night, which is in the South, obviously, when we all want to have outdoor parties when it's much cooler. So get yourself some string lights, and don't be scared of electrical because there's so many of them now that are just solar powered, so you don't even need to worry about having a plug outside, and it just creates such a great mood.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News. We'll be up to you guys on Monday with more news, a message from my book, Words That Choose to Live By, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make today amazing. Take care.